Curriculum Department of the College of Education. Dr. Morton is an alumnus of North Carolina Agricultural and Technical State University, graduating with a Bachelor's of Science in Chemistry. While at North Carolina A&T, Dr. Morton participated in a variety of organizations, including the Chemistry Club and the Council of Presidents. Dr. Morton was also a drum major of the Blue and Gold Marching Machine and joined Kappa Kappa Psi National Honorary Band Fraternity Incorporated. Dr. Morton is also a member of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. Dr. Morton obtained a Master's of Science in Neuroscience Neurobiology from the University of Miami and a PhD in Education with a concentration in Learning Sciences and Psychological Studies from the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. His research focuses on identity expression as it informs the persistence, retention, and matriculation of racialized and marginalized students in post-secondary STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics education. His populations of interest include Black women, Black students, transfer students, and students from rural communities. Dr. Morton is trained in qualitative methodology and takes a critical ecological perspective, informed by critical race theory and phenomenological variant ecological systems theory with his work. He is published in several academic journals, including Science Education, the High School Journal, and Neurotoxicology and Teratology. Dr. Morton has presented at several national and international conferences for organizations such as the National Association of Research in Science Teaching, the American Educational Research Association, and the Association for the Study of Higher Education. He has received over $1 million in external grants designed to transform post-secondary education by addressing systematic inequity to promote inclusion and student success. Dr. Morton is the co-founder of the Christine Avery Learning Center, Incorporated, or CWA, an educational nonprofit based in Asheville, North Carolina, that serves youth and their families from ages 2 to 16 years old. He considers himself to be a scholar activist, as he strives to, as he refers, walk it like I talk it. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Dr. Terrell Morton.
Thank you so much for that introduction. I was sitting here like, oh, she's gonna read the whole thing, but go ahead and spit that thing then. Go ahead. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. How are you all doing today? Everybody enjoying the meal? Yes. Very delicious. Everybody getting some deep, rich information and knowledge today? Yes. Great, great. So I too would like to mirror my colleague, Dr. Langston Clark, and extend my thankfulness and gratefulness to Assistant Dean Boyd Williams and the Graduate College here at the illustrious North Carolina Agricultural and Technical State University for inviting me to come to speak with you all today. And I'm very thankful that you all decided to show up on this Friday afternoon to come and listen to what we are sharing and imparting with you all. It is so good to be home. It was and is a continued passion and desire of mine to work for, hint, hint, alongside of, and give back to A&T, the institution that made me physically, intellectually, socially, and culturally. I have roots in this institution that trace back to when A&T was founded in 1891, as my great-grandfather attended as a sharecropper. And, interesting fact, when I say physically made me, I literally mean physically, as both of my parents were undergraduate students here at A&T when I was conceived. So I attended college classes with them, my uncle, my godparents who are here, Frank and Vicki McCain, thank you all for showing up, as well as their friends before I even went to daycare. So shout out to the professors and staff who hold down student parents. You're the real MVPs. And shout out to the community that supported my parents. And of course, during my time and tenure here as an undergraduate student, I established a reputation and a legacy of my own. And so I say all of this to say that I am very excited to be here and even more excited to expand the ways in which I give back to my alma mater as I speak to you today. In 2003, rapper, writer, producer, and mogul Jay-Z introduced a song entitled PSA, or Public Service Announcement, on his Black album. Anyone familiar with that song? Anybody familiar with that album? Probably some of his best work, in my opinion. The song begins with aspects that you would find in the more traditional and historic national alerts and announcements, such as statements as, "This is a public service announcement," and "fellow Americans." But the true creative, ingenious, and iconic moment of that song comes right before the beat drops, when Jay-Z states, "Allow me to reintroduce myself. My name is Hov." Y'all were supposed to say H to the O. Come on now. I find this statement of "allow me to reintroduce myself" to be the most intriguing and relevant to the message that I wish to convey to you all today. This phrase is representative of the embodied experiences of Black and brown and other racialized people who decide to pursue an advanced degree, be that a PhD, MD, DDS, PharmD, PsyD, EDD, DMA, etc. You get the picture. And then choose to work and operate within their specialized fields of endeavor. This phrase in particularly represents the challenges, struggles, opportunities, joy, as Dr. Clark shared, and nerve that come with being a Black or brown scholar navigating the higher education enterprise, or what we refer to as the academy. Now keep in mind, when I make statements such as "this phrase is representative of the experiences of Black, brown, and other racialized groups," I am not standing here proclaiming to be all-knowing, nor am I making the statement that my interpretations capture the entirety of every Black and brown person. We are not a homogeneous group. We do not all have the same narrative. But in living this experience, listening to and supporting others like myself, traversing their different academic paths, and studying the ways in which racism is institutionalized and systematically ingrained within the very fabric of this country and our educational system, I am more than confident in my analyses and thus hope to impart words of wisdom to you all regarding this topic. When we take a critical look at Jay-Z's phrase, oh, and just an FYI, this is not a plug for Jay-Z or me capping for him, his music and lifestyle, as my students or fraternity brothers over here would say, because he and his work in many ways can be scrutinized, critiqued for its problematic nature and presentation. But it is me taking a deeper dive into how he delivers and contextualizes this statement of "allow me to reintroduce myself." In this song, this statement comes as a reminder to the audience of who Jay-Z is, what he has overcome, what he has accomplished and achieved within his career, and is presented in a manner where he commands and demands the respect he deserves because of his story and accolades. Within America, it is an all too common belief that hard work and individual effort are the only tools needed to advance our progress and success. It is the American dream that teaches us that we are all capable of obtaining and achieving the grandeurs of life if we work harder and try harder. For racialized individuals, that is, those of us who are categorized, stigmatized, jeopardized, ostracized, marginalized, and minoritized because of our melanated tone or darker hue, and shared or common ancestry and connection to those who were taken from the African continent and enslaved, or designated as a savage and massacred, our American dream comes with having to be 10 times faster, 10 times stronger, working twice as hard or more for half the credit and recognition. Being socialized and buying into this mantra of "it is what it is, so let me go hard," we who are dark, as utilized by Harvard philosopher Tommy Shelby, look to and pursue higher education in hopes to not only advance and enhance our economic gains by expanding our social, cultural, and intellectual capital, but we also seek to possess and maintain that which cannot be stripped, stolen, or beaten out of us. As a third-generation college-educated young black male growing up, I listened to the words and the lessons of my grandparents. Being both products of Shaw University, civil servants where one was a pastor and the other a teacher, and civil rights activists who faced unimaginable horrors, their messages to my siblings, cousins, and I were go to school and get your education. Having lived in the Jim Crow South, experiencing and witnessing the terrors of white supremacy embodied through individual interactions, policies, procedures, and laws, they believed, as do many of us today, that a higher education grants us a better quality of life. And while in many ways this concept is true, there are many ways in which it is not. Because despite the fact that my grandfather held a doctoral degree in pastoral counseling and had to attend school in Boston because the only school in North Carolina that offered advanced degrees in theology, Duke, would not accept him because he was black, there were still times in which he was chased by the Klan or received death threats for him and the family because he was a black man in America seeking to obtain the promises of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness for himself and others. My mom, being no more than 5 years old at the time, had to have police escorts just to go to school. And while it is easy for us to write these stories off because they happened in the 1960s and 70s, and while it is easy for us to believe that in 2019, nothing like this would or could happen, I stand here today stating otherwise. As a black scholar in the academy, I have faced instances where my colleagues attempted to shame, degrade, and attack me publicly in both macro and microaggressive ways. For example, my research investigates the ways in which identity informs and influences black women's pursuit of and engagement in post-secondary STEM education. Given my paradigmatic purview, I draw from theoretical and conceptual frames and methods that critically examine the external environment along the dimensions of race, gender, and geographic locale, among other identity constructs. It is through my research that I strive to transform the mainstream consciousness of what it means to be a black woman, black, from a rural community, or a transfer student in STEM. And in writing and submitting manuscripts, one of the key responsibilities of a tenure-track faculty member at a Research One institution, I have had journal reviewers state in response to my work, quote, better situating your argument in terms of other traditionally marginalized and underrepresented populations might further strengthen its compelling nature. This was a response to my manuscript that focused on black women in STEM, why we should research and write about black women and do so from a positive intersectional perspective, that pretty much told me that in order for me to make that argument that I just shared with you justifiable, I should say why black women over others. Well, my question is, why not black women? And why must I justify their existence or the need to write about their experiences in order for the manuscript to be compelling? Or in response to a manuscript that talked about the ways in which higher education practitioners can take a critical race theory informed approach towards their services and support of students, I've had a reviewer share, quote, the authors do not want to accept that racial slavery exists no more and that many steps have been taken to heal the ancestors' wounds. If one does not accept the improvements have occurred, one is unlikely to make positive contributions to eradicate what's left of such racial behaviors. Michael Jackson showed us that it is even possible to change the color of his or her skin, meaning that it is one's preconceived evolutionary and societal notions that influences one's own worldviews and moral and philosophical positionality. All lives matter, not only colored ones. Are the authors explicitive? Is this an example of colored supremacy? End quote. At work, I have had had individuals who were designated as a mentor send emails out that tried to downplay my intelligence and intellectual merit and contribution to all of my research grant collaborators, some of which who were senior level administrators like a vice provost. And interestingly enough, despite these attempts to downplay me, this grant, which was previously rejected before I joined the team, was accepted and awarded given my contributions, and that my contributions were what put it over the edge as a stronger, inclusive, and more cohesive grant, as the reviewers then said. I've had tenured faculty ask and tell me, who do you think you are? Why do you feel the need to speak up and speak out? You say things that I feel are unnecessary, in response to me expounding my perspectives and views on diversity, equity, and inclusion, and how we as institutions should take a more reparative and justice-oriented stance towards supporting our students. I've had senior administrators of my college question how I was able to gain access to certain places and spaces, like the president's suite at a basketball game, as if I had no right to be there. I've even had senior professors and leaders tell me that if I just put on a suit and a tie, then I would gain the respect of everyone else and be deserving of them calling me Dr. Morton, as if I did not put in the time and equity to earn a PhD. And mind you, I only just graduated with my PhD in 2017. So all of these experiences have just happened within the last 2 years. In sharing these aspects of my story, it is not my intention or desire to give or breathe life into the racist and discriminatory experiences I've encountered, nor to gain a pity party from anyone because of professional hardships. Rather, it is my intention to use these stories in culmination with this phrase of allow me to reintroduce myself as a way to impart these next 3 lessons with you. 1, racism is real. Racism exists in actions, policies, procedures, and structures. Racism will do everything it can to keep you down or make you feel like if you work harder, it will go away. But in reality, it won't. You can have all the advanced degrees in the world, and the world will still look at you like, and I quote, an N-word in a coupe, as the old Kanye stated in his song, All Falls Down. The old Kanye. Keyword. The moment that you recognize that racism is not going anywhere and that hard work alone will not end it is the moment that you free yourself from a mindset that can promote self-doubt, self-hate, and imposter syndrome. You do not represent all things black or brown. You do not have to bear the weight of your racial group or other identity group on your shoulders. Freeing your mind from the feeling like you must bear the burden of all things black or brown, and freeing your mind from the possibilities of self-doubt, self-hate, and imposter syndrome gives you the strength to call racism what it is, and a confidence to know that your focus and your work can be on what you desire, and it will be beautiful and brilliant regardless. As 3LW once stated, I am a musician, they said in the band, haters, they're going to hate. And that ain't got nothing to do with me or you. So scholars, people here, amass your haters. Let them choke on their hate as you continue to live your beautiful black and brown life. 2, know that no matter what you may face and endure as a black or brown scholar in the academy, you stand on the shoulders of those who have sacrificed and invested so much, and you too have sacrificed and invested so much. Know your story, love your story, draw strength from your story, and continue to write your story in ways that creates paths, journeys, and bridges for those who come after you. And finally, know your worth and value, and have the nerve to remind people of your worth and value, commanding and demanding the respect you deserve should anyone happen to not come correct. Excuse me. Most recently, the late, great Dr. Maya Angelou has been trending on Twitter as a video was posted of her speaking to a young black woman about her name and title. How many of you all have seen this video? So in this video, The young black woman says, I wanted to ask Maya her views on interracial relationships. This is kind of like a talk show scenario situation. And Dr. Angelo responds, oh, thank you. And first, I'm Miss Angelo. Yes, ma'am, I'm not Maya. I'm 62 years old. I have lived so long and tried so hard that a young woman like you and any other you have no license to come up to me and call me by my first name. That's first. Also, because at the same time, I'm your mother, I'm your auntie, I'm your teacher, I'm your professor, you see. As a black or brown scholar in the academy or a black and brown individual who has achieved success, take pride in your accomplishments. Enjoy the fruits of your labor and remind yourselves and others just who, didn't want to cuss in front of you all, you are, and have them put some respect on your name and story because you have and are working too hard for anything less than what is owed and due to you. And even if others feel differently or try to suggest that you are elitist or difficult in your ways of demanding and commanding respect, you remember and remind them that you don't know my story. You don't know the things that I've been through or the things that I'm going through and face as a result of systemic and institutional racism. So please allow me to reintroduce myself. Thank you. I'm guessing there's time for questions. Yes, sir. State your name for me, please.
Jelani Clark.
What's going on, Jelani?
Third-year PhD candidate here at A&T in the Department of Industrial Systems Engineering. You made a lot of references to cultural things and things that are specific to certain genres of music, like hip-hop references.
Mm-hmm.
How important do you think is it for you to remember your culture as you ascend and progress in your career in education?
I think it's very important. And I think it's really interesting that Dr. Clark's and I's speeches mirrored each other when we talk about remembering and reflecting on your past and your experiences and who you are as you navigate in this place and space. People will tell you that you must assimilate your identity or you must accommodate your identity in order to be successful. And I say that that is not true. I intentionally wear t-shirts at work that have some sort of black nationalist or power statement. If you go outside of my office, it is covered in beautiful black and brown scientists who have made significant contributions to what I do in my field and so on and so forth. And I constantly have this same type of conversations with my students and try to learn as much as possible what the newest lingo, if that is still a word, in terms of how students are relating, because I believe, as Dr. Clark also said, it's important to stay true to who you are, and it's important to stay true to who your communities are. Because even if I am standing here with a PhD and have all of this success, I would not be standing here if it wasn't for those individuals who bled, who sweated, who cried, who were raped, who were molested, and who were killed, just to give me the opportunity to sit in the classroom. And so I can't let what I have take me away from where I'm from and what has made me me. That's just my personal opinion. And I love music too, so I'm always going to have some kind of music, art reference in my stuff. Yes, state your name for me, please. Yeah, this is a family now. Come on, it's A&T.
My name is Wendell Bates, third-year PhD candidate.
What's going on, Wendell?
Engineering. How's it going? Thank you for your speech. So when you referenced colleagues talking about if you would just wear a tie or something of that nature, you could be more accepted or more successful, can you speak on how you navigated through and still continue to be yourself when that was said to you?
Yes. I asked them, was wearing a tie mandatory for getting a PhD? Now, this is no shade to anybody who does like that style of dress. I like it, and I'll do it when I want to do it. But I'm not going to do it because you tell me that I have to do it in order for me to be successful. And so it was those same questions like, so what are the norms behind what are standards of professionalism? Why is it that this particular style of dress was selected as another? And culturally, how do we dive deeper into this to say who we are favoring and privileging and pushing forward from an identity standpoint? When we say that your hair has to look this way, your makeup has to look this way, your style of dress has to look this way. And then I asked, to what extent does it affect my writing? If I have publications still coming out and they're landing in the same journals that you're writing in or higher, if I'm writing grants and they're landing and your grants aren't landing, then maybe you should dress like I do. You know, you might get some inspiration. So it's getting down to, why are we here? You know, what is the true reason for why we are in the academy? And it's to create knowledge, and it is to create opportunity, and in my perspective, transform the ways in which things were done previously.
Thank you.
And speaking of creating opportunity, I didn't forget, Dr. Clark actually has an opportunity he wants to share with everybody, so don't let me forget. Or you can just share it now in terms of the postdoc you were talking about.
So there's a colleague of mine, her name is Dr. Kelly Nash, and I'll send an email out to Ayana so that you all can get access to it. But she has opportunities for postdoc fellowships. So if any of y'all want to talk to me about that after lunch and whatnot, I'll make sure to get you all's contact information, and I'll forward you her information so y'all can connect and get that out.
Let's give our speaker another round of applause.
Yeah, you can open up.
Dr. Morton?
Morton.
Morton.
Yes.
Oh, right. Sorry.
Oh, you want her in?
Yeah.
Okay, 3, 2, 1. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the introduction. Is there, did you want to take a picture? Did you want to take a picture of the Title III?
Oh, everybody?
Did you want to?
Yes. We got our students up front, as well as some presenters. We want to get a group photo.
We can get the Title III fellows to come
Title
up
III
front
fellows.
along with the presenters. You want the ones that introduced them to?
Yes, absolutely. So Title III fellows, our moderators.
Oh yeah, you guys can just line up.
So just do some double.
In the front or the back? In the front of the table or the back?